So far we've looked at 4 false beliefs that are taking away our responsibility: germs, genes, old age, and born of sin. The 5th false belief that we want to take a closer look at, that is also taking away our responsibility, is reincarnation. And reincarnation is taking away our responsibility in the same way born of sin is. They both are saying it's before we were born. So when you're born of sin, you have a dark side to your behavior. It's part of your nature, it's part of your DNA. It's not part of your traditions. No, it's part of your DNA. There's nothing you can do about it. It's taking away your responsibility. Just like reincarnation. You come down with shingles and you go, oh my God, that's karma. You did something wrong in a prior life before you were born. Isn't that convenient? So we have to look at all of our false beliefs that are taking away our responsibility just to make sure that they're not tricking us. And in this case, both religion and spirituality is using the same trick, getting us to focus on the life before us. And they also do the same thing with the afterlife. With religion, you either go to heaven or hell. And with reincarnation, you either get reincarnated into something better or something worse. So don't you see the similarities? The focus in every case is away from the here and now, which is where we want to be. And it's either before we're born or after we're born. It's a trick. It's to keep you from realizing that it's within our control. Just like germs, genes, and old age. Take germs, for example. Remember, Louis Pasteur, on his deathbed, confessed that the microbe is nothing, the terrain is everything. Well, what did Louis Pasteur mean by the terrain? Well, the terrain is what I call our 4 current status factors. We have a physical state, mental state, emotional state, and then we all are in a community. Not just locally and not just globally, but universally. We are all one at a level because we all share that same spark of energy that made this whole thing start to go. But obviously we all manifest differently. And especially for living systems like us, because if we don't make good choices, those mistakes will be reflected in what we got. So it is the condition of our 4 current status factors that determines everything that happens to us. It determines whether or not we have war, crime, violence, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and yes, even the common cold and the dark side of our behavior. Remember, everything we do affects us, and those effects accumulate and are reflected in the condition of our 4 current status factors. It's in the here and now. Stop being tricked and into thinking that it was because someone else did something and now you've got a dark side of your behavior. You're an imperfect sinner and there's nothing you can do about it. That's poppycock. There's plenty you can do about it. You can stop making the mistake that they made long ago. So yeah, a mistake was made long ago, but it's not uncorrectable. We can stop making that mistake, and it begins when we stop teaching our children the same mistakes that were taught to us. And we can't understand that until we do it ourselves. So you can do the first of my 3-step process to get an idea of what I'm talking about. You can click here and go to a video that has a seminar I gave that explains how to do it. And you can do it any other way as long as you do it, as long as you correct these 5 main mistakes. And I explain those more in these videos here too. So we don't want to be tricked into not taking responsibility. And when people tell us that we get sick because of the germs, our genes, our old age, we have to understand that the only reason why old people get sick is because most of us aren't living properly. And then genes do affect us, of course. There's a very, very small percentage who are born with genetic defects, and then we all have genetic weaknesses, which will then determine where a disease symptom will manifest, but not if the disease symptom manifests, unless it's really serious, as it would be in a defect in the very beginning. And then the germs, the bacteria, the viruses, we have to understand, yes, those can be problematic for people for a reason. If we don't live properly, we're nothing but a bunch of garbage. We're a bunch of dying, dead cells, and most of what they say is a virus is just nothing but the dead genetic debris of cells dying. And can too much dead genetic debris floating around inside our body cause problems? You bet it does. But then to claim that it's alive and it's propagating and it's causing all the problems is not realizing, well, why do we have this dead genetic debris? Oh, it's not dead genetic debris, it's a virus, oh, it's mysterious and we're being attacked. Really a convenient scapegoat when we blame things on things we can't see. Evil spirits, evil germs, microbes, viruses, nanobacteria. Isn't it convenient? Well, you know what? there's not a microbe around that can stand a chance again inside a healthy person. So the key is understanding how the terrain works. And to do that, we have to change what we're doing, at least for most of us. So if you haven't looked into this yet, the easiest way to deal with all of it is simply to do the first of my 3-step process. You see, there's only one thing we have to do, and that is to improve on the condition of our 4 current status factors. And to do that, we have to satisfy 2 groups of needs. There are 12 essential needs, and I explain those here at this part of the video. And we have 2 additional temporary needs. And this is where it gets interesting, because the first temporary need I have are 10 subsequent needs from being sick and disconnected. And that's where 6 of those subsequent needs can also be problems of knowledge. That's where religion and spirituality come into play. Now, this is something I haven't gone into, so some of y'all are going to really like this. I went back to the 4 stages, or the 4 conditions, the 4 current status factors that we have. We're a physical state, mental state, emotional state, and then a community. This is what I call, what many people would call spirituality, and some might call it religion. But I didn't want to use the word spirituality in the beginning. I knew that might not go over too well with people who are religious. They may think it's new agey. And then the atheists and agnostics will look at it and go, well, no, this is spiritual. I don't want to go in there either. So the message I'm trying to share with everybody is for all of us. We can't say it's only for this group and only for that group. It's got to be for all of us. So I chose what I thought would be a word that would not be so threatening, and I call it community. And it wasn't until quite some time I realized that that this word was not in lieu of spirituality, that spirituality was just like religion. It's a subsequent need because we're disconnected. Think about it. The whole concept of spirituality is understanding that we're all one with everything. And that's what happens when you don't make the very first mistake. You don't destroy the nutrient that allows us to sense that. Well, you don't have to think about it. It's what you feel. And then the 5th mistake destroys it by 83%. So that causes a condition I coined hypoheliosis. And we have hypoheliosis A and hypoheliosis B. Hypoheliosis A is on an individual level. This is an abnormally low biophoton level. And then hypoheliosis B is on a collective level. So what we have to understand is that we can get rid of hypoheliosis A, but then the most important piece of the puzzle, piece 30, community, we can't have unless we all do it. So this is going to always be a problem for everyone. And remember, a lot of people might think of it as spirituality because it means that we're all one. And a lot of you will see the connection with religion because the root word to religion is religio, and that means to connect. So religion and spirituality are subsequent needs because we're disconnected. The solution is, well, we can use those 2 because they can be very comforting for a lot of us because we're not where we're supposed to be. But then when we get reconnected, then it'll be a whole different ball game. Then we'll finally have piece number 30. We'll have that community. We'll understand that we're all one. We'll understand that there's only one way to make the world better, and that is to make everything around us better. And that's where we realize the more we give, the more we receive. And once everyone has that mentality, this world will transform so fast we won't even believe what we could have on this planet right now if we could just change our mentality. We've got the wrong mentality. Things will never change until we change our mentality. We've got an exchange mentality. People talk about money all the time and politics all the time. Well, politics, that's government. That's a subsequent need also. Money, it's a subsequent need. The only way to deal with all these subsequent needs is to get reconnected. Don't you see? It's not complicated at all. It may sound complicated because I've identified so many pieces. You don't even need to know all of them. Just test an idea as time has come. Do the first of my 3-step process, and then you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about because you're going to bump up those biophotons and get rid of hypoheliosis A. And then you go, yeah, hallelujah, now I got a reason to live. I can help other people get rid of this. And if we can reach the tipping point, get enough of us to get rid of hypoheliosis A, we'll get rid of hypoheliosis B. And just like things will never change unless we change our mentality, things will never change unless we reach a tipping point. Because that's what it's going to take to change the collective mentality. We can change individually and get an idea of what's going on, but we'll never understand what in the world we're missing as long as the vast majority of us are sick and disconnected. And you have to understand everything in our society of any significance has everything to do with our health, or more importantly, our lack of health. And that means that everything in these areas has to be controlled by the status quo to make sure that the status quo remains the status quo. And I'm not referring to the actual systems themselves. I'm talking about a very small group of people who own and control every major sector of human endeavor. That includes the medical system, the educational system, the government, the media, the money, the judicial systems, everything. And they are merely a reflection of us. And the only way to deal with them is to deal with us. We are distracted when we even think about them, and unless it's about damage control. So we can't change everything overnight. So yeah, we have to get rid of the debt-based currency and go to a debt-free currency. And ultimately, where we'll finally do away with any type of an exchange mentality, where barter is not even a solution. Barter is not on the table when we get reconnected. So I've had people think they're enlightened. They say, I asked them, what do you think we'll have when we all are doing what we're supposed to do? I asked my master, and he said, we'll have a barter system. Well, that's how I knew he was full of it, because we won't have a barter system, because that's still part of the exchange mentality. We'll have a gift mentality. We'll understand that the more we give, the more we receive, and it will change our mentality. So we have to get reconnected. We have to change our mentality. We have to reach the tipping point. It's time for you to test an idea. It's time to come. Do the first of my 3-step process. Click onto this link right here. Share this with everyone you know. If you know anyone who's suffering, tell them to do this. The arthritis goes away, the diabetes goes away, the cancer goes away, and when you do it, you're in for a treat.